The following is a paid presentation on News Talk 580 CFRA.
Ask questions.
Get answers.
This is Experts on Call
On News Talk 580 CFRA.
And a good Saturday afternoon to you once again. Dave Watts with you. This hour, we're going to let you relax in your own new home. And it's all about leasing lifestyle. It's essentially leasing versus owning. Now, we have a finance expert with us this hour, along with some great real-life stories. We're going to get to all that shortly. But this should be a fun hour, and I'm pleased to welcome my co-host partner this hour. She's a longtime Ottawa broadcaster, left broadcasting last year after 34 years at the station. And we still see her on air, though, as the ambassador for Lepine Apartments. A huge welcome to Leanne Cusack. Hi, Leanne. Great to catch up with you again.
Hi, Dave. It's so great to be with you and all of your listeners and to be your guest host today, Mr. Dave Watts, or as you're affectionately referred to in the radio business, Dave 50,000 Watts, a nickname that's been shortened to what, Dave?
Oh, in the hallway at the radio station the odd time I said, hey, 50, how's it going? But I got
So you are forever young, Dave.
Well, I don't know about that, but that nickname, I don't want to date myself, but I probably will, goes way back to the days of Al Pascal at CFRA when I was his producer when I was in high school. How about that?
That's pretty amazing. I love a good legacy story. That's fantastic.
There you go. Anyway, on to business here, Leanne. I know that you often travel the Ottawa Valley. So where are you right now as we speak?
I am joining you from Renfrew's Lepine Lodge, Dave, one of Lepine's many beautiful, unique apartment builds in and around Ottawa and the Valley. And here in Renfrew, we call it living a quality Lepine lifestyle up the line. You'll know that expression.
I love it. All right. As we mentioned, we got lots to unpack this hour, Leanne. Let's talk about what you got coming up.
Oh, we have so many guests, and we have a phenomenal, as you mentioned, a financial planner joining us in a moment. We will have Doug live from Scotiabank Wealth Management, but I just wanted to set the stage, if I could, as to who actually lives in Lepine Lodge, the people who call it home. So many of the people who live and lease here who do say Lepine Lodge is sort of their dream. It's like being at the spa. They either work in and around Renfrew or have sold homes in and around the Ottawa Valley because they want more time for travel, less snow clearing, less mowing, less maintenance, and ultimately more life, more time. Some have sold their homes and kept their cottages, or at least they've kept their four-wheelers and snowmobiles because there's an on-site storage for ATVs, boats, and side-by-sides here.
Well, Leanne, this is great information.
Dave, there are trails all over here, great spots to fish, but if you ask residents, they won't tell you where. They're kind of coy about it. We could talk about Renfrew all day. You know how much I love the Valley, but today, since you invited me to guest host, I think we better get down to work. And our theme today is leasing versus owning. We are here on 580 CFRA as experts on call discussing very important and very personal life decisions. How to best manage your financial world and one of the most important individual life decisions you can make. Where and how to live. We have some fabulous guests, as mentioned, and a great deal of information throughout this hour. And I am, as Dave mentioned, the ambassador for Lepine Apartments. That's not a new role for me, though. I've worked with the Lepine team for many years. I call Lepine trailblazers in the apartment renaissance. They're considered innovators. And when I started working as an ambassador, we were kind of the outlier in the Ottawa market in building luxury rentals. Most builders were at that time focusing on condos, and that has definitely shifted, as I'm certain listeners have noticed. There are more rentals being built across the Ottawa region, buildings that would have once been condo buildings. Other builders following the Lepine model or the Lepine lead are now building apartments available for lease, which leads us to leasing versus owning. When and why does that make sense? For whom is leasing rather than owning the best choice? I am not the expert on call when it comes to that, but Douglas Lai is. Douglas is a financial planner with Scotiabank Wealth Management. Hi, Doug. It's really great to have you with us today.
Hi, Leanne.
Leasing versus owning, I understand, is up for discussion in your office many times a day.
You've got it. That is a common question for me.
And typically, who's asking the question? Clients of all ages, because there's never a one size fits all. Everyone's financial picture and everyone's, desired living picture is very, very different. So how do you best approach this?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that there is this stigma around home ownership in Canada that at least we've found. It's important to a lot of people to own a home, or it's almost expected to own a home at some point and to hold that home for as long as possible. In reviewing different client case scenarios over the last few months, there have been scenarios where actually leasing might provide the better option for them. Typically, the tool that I use and the exercise I bring clients through is the financial planning process. So that's a process that I offer to all of my clients, and it helps make that decision.
I am guessing that the advice you would offer a 20-something is often very different than the advice you would offer someone who, has a pension and has built up equity. So since it isn't a one size fits all, it's a tough one for you, but you're going to give us some wonderful real life examples that really does sort of summarize when leasing makes a great deal of sense.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think life stage with respect to age, where you are in your career, what your financial circumstances are, it's going to change and it's going to be dynamic over your lifetime. So certainly the recommendation to individuals and families, at a younger age or a younger family versus perhaps when they're later in life and more established, that recommendation from leasing versus home ownership is going to be different. When you pare things down, when I go through that financial planning process, and why in particular I would highlight this discussion at this current point in time, in this current juncture from an economic standpoint, when I categorize financial planning for this discussion, I usually look at two perspectives. One is the lifestyle perspective, and the other really being the financial perspective.
Doug, those are great words that will resonate during our break. At this point in time, the questions everyone will ask themselves will be back in a flash. Now back to Dave Watts.
All right, Leanne, thank you so much. And coming up, we're going to continue our conversation with Doug Lai from Scotiabank's Wealth Management Team, and we'll reflect on young adults and leasing. That and more when we come back. Leanne Cusack, of course, our special guest host this hour, an ambassador for Lepine Apartments, as we investigate a leasing lifestyle. Quick break. We'll be right back on Experts on Call on News Talk 580 CFRA.
Ask questions.
Get answers.
This is Experts on Call
On News Talk 580 CFRA.
Ask questions.
Get answers.
This is Experts on Call
On News Talk 580 CFRA.
Experts on Call continues on News Talk 580 CFRA. Welcome back to our conversation. And we've got some great guests this hour. Just before the break, we were talking to Doug Lai. He's from the Wealth Management Team at Scotiabank. We'll get back to Doug in just a sec, but I want to throw it back to Leanne. Wow, what a great hour, Leanne. I'm going to let you carry on from there. What you got up your sleeve?
Oh, well, we have lots of testimonials from residents. Thanks so much, Dave. And a warm welcome back to our listeners on 580 News Talk, CFRA, Ottawa's News Talk Radio. I am here as a Lepine ambassador, so I will do my best to represent the builders, the leasing agents, the property managers, the maintenance team, everyone who works for Lepine to make a Lepine apartment the ideal home for residents. Ultimately, though, some of those residents are the most phenomenal ambassadors. That's why I felt it was really important for you to hear from them. I feel that they are the people who can tell you what living a Lepine lifestyle is all about. And the people who are very happy to live in Lepine builds, use the amenities and really enjoy the experience. Many of those people are adventurers and travelers. As I mentioned earlier, they want to lock and leave. And some of them have had their fair share of property maintenance and have decided to have their equity create experiences. A great example is Dale and Renfrew's Lepine Lodge. She was standing in the bucket of their tractor. Yes, standing in the bucket on their large property. She was cleaning out the eaves trough. Her husband, Ron, was behind the wheel of the tractor when she said, enough of this. So now the best place to find Dale is in the pool or with Ron on an off-roading adventure in their side-by-side that's stored on the premises here in Renfrew. Some residents or tenants have never been homeowners, though. Our next guest, Scotty Murray, didn't want to be. In her late 20s, with friends all buying homes and maybe a bit of parental pressure to do the same, Scotty opted to rent a beautiful Lepine apartment in Canada's The Normand. I have visited, Scotty. It is so beautifully decorated, and you live there with your beautiful Buzz, your lab. Hi, Scotty. Great to have you with us. And in a moment, we're going to hear from Doug Lai about his theory on your philosophy on leasing. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Now, you have been living in a Lepine apartment for how long now?
About 8 months.
And you always comment on the quiet. You say the quality of the build.
Yeah, the quality is amazing. I've lived in apartments before and they do not measure up to the quality that Lepine provides for sure.
Have you taken a little bit of flack from a financial perspective? Tell us what you did and why you decided to lease instead of trying to own.
I think, as you said earlier, my equity is better spent on experiences, on the high-end amenities that Lepine provides, like a high-end gym, high-end social spaces, like a terrace where we can enjoy time with our friends. I just was not interested in the maintenance that came along with home ownership. Maybe that will change in the future, but for now, this is what works perfect for our lifestyle.
And when you say our lifestyle, I mentioned Buzz. I wasn't really fair to your beau. Why don't you explain where he works most of the time?
Yeah, my boyfriend is usually working out west. So another bonus about living in a Lepine apartment is that maintenance is taken care of for me. So when he does come home on a turnaround for a week, he is not tied down doing various things around the house. And all of that is taken care of for me while he's away.
Right. Thanks, Scotty. Doug, this is where we bring you in. If Scotty Murray had arrived in your office and told you the type of life that she likes to lead, what would you say about her plan?
I think Scotty's situation resonates with a number of clients that I work with. In particular, there's two clients that I work with. They're have a younger family, and they wanted to not only think of that lifestyle perspective, many of which Scotty mentioned, but from a financial perspective, they were really thoughtful about not overextending themselves. I think far too often what happens is families, individuals with this pursuit of home ownership, they don't leave themselves much of a buffer, right? And when things can change, for example, mortgage interest rates have changed in the last couple of years, that can really cause negative impacts when you don't look into the future and how that might affect you, right? Leasing, for example, and Scotty, I'm sure you can attest to this, creates that predictable monthly expense. And not only that, it creates something where you can budget yourself and find ways to save and, for example, even invest those savings for the future over and above your lease payment.
That's Scotty. Yeah, Scotty's nodding here. Since we're on radio, I'll emphasize that.
Yeah, no, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, the traditional way to invest your money is, of course, to buy real estate, but there are many other ways, which we obviously are taking advantage of, being that our equity is not tied down to a mortgage.
And maintenance is also a huge concern in terms of, Doug, in hearing you explain when it's great to own, when it's great to lease, you do talk about sort of the hidden expenses. Is that what you were about to refer to, Scotty?
Yeah, so being that when something breaks, I pick up the phone and call our maintenance team, which pretty much has like a 24-hour, 48-hour window of coming and getting that fixed. As I say, my boyfriend's away oftentimes, so that honey to-do list would be extremely long when he got home, and I don't think he would appreciate that. So I definitely am able to take advantage of that. And then, of course, that money that may have had to have been spent on a new air conditioning, on a new lawnmower, whatever it might be, can go towards our travel plans.
What do your friends, the other 20-somethings in your life, what do they think about what you're doing versus what they're doing in terms of already living in their own homes?
Well, I definitely think that there's a generational impact on that idea that owning a home is kind of the key to success. So I definitely see that in conversations with my friends. That's still kind of ingrained in them that is a requirement. But some of them are coming around when they come over for a visit and they see life can be a lot more simple. And obviously, we have the advantage of that living in a Lepine apartment.
I think they must be referring to the pool, because the pool at the Normand, I don't know if you've seen it, Doug. It's quite splashy. It's really, truly beautiful.
All the
it's
Lepine
truly beautiful. You have to get
visited.
invited to the terrace at Scotty's at some point in time, because your apartment is so stunning. Doug, I would like to turn it over to you, because I know that you've had situations where you have parents and younger clients in the office at the same time, and you're kind of, I guess, walking a bit of a tightrope trying to make a case in either direction. But let's leave it to you to say, when in your lifetime and for whom is leasing a better option than owning? Because it's also very individual.
It is, and the example that comes to mind is when I sat next to a client being the mother and their adult son. The turnkey response from the mother was put every penny and store it towards buying a home as soon as possible. When having that conversation with the adult son in this case, they found, they want to be mobile. They don't know where they're going to end up in their career, whether they're going to be in, the Ottawa, Renfrew area, or whether they're going to be in a completely different city altogether. And so, in terms of where to allocate that savings, even in terms of the type of account, the mother was recommending something called the first home savings account. That would have really limited the flexibility the son had in terms of withdrawing those funds. For example, if they wanted to travel or they had prioritized other goals and aspirations at that stage in life.
Oh, Doug, you just mentioned the word that makes Scotty electric: travel. And your wanderlust is actually part of the reason you're renting at this juncture, as I understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you unfortunately in this day and age can't always have both. I know a lot of my friends that are homeowners, the financial burdens are preventing them maybe from having some of those travel experiences. And even if it's just weekend getaways, being able to, as you say, lock and leave is a huge benefit.
So when you go on your trips, you don't post on Instagram so you don't make your friends jealous. Am I right? Maybe that's a suggestion, Scotty. Doug, back to you, because it's really so lovely to have Douglas live from Scotiabank Wealth Management on the line with us here on Experts on Call on 580 CFRA. I'm Leanne Cusack, if you're just joining us, and we have a full hour. Actually, we're almost halfway through our hour. We're going to hear from some more residents who they're actually the downsizers. So, Scotty, you represent the upwardly mobile or a career person who's living in a Lepine apartment. And in terms of your parents, not to bring them into this, they're probably not wanting to be talked about on the radio. Have they acquiesced, and do they understand why this is the right choice for you right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Even just as you say, being upwardly mobile, I actually have moved almost every 6 months for the last 2 years. And so that flexibility of renting has always been in the back of my mind. And I think they're coming around to understand that I don't like to stay put. And leasing gives you that flexibility.
We are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us, Scotty. We're going back to Dave Watts.
All right. Thanks again, Leanne. Great conversation with Scotty, of course, resident from Lepine Apartments. This hour, we're looking at leasing versus owning, and our guests, as you heard, Doug Lai is a wealth advisor from Scotiabank, and special welcome to some of the residents from Lepine Apartments, like Scotty, who you just heard. And my guest host, of course, this hour is Leanne Cusack, a special ambassador for Lepine Apartments. Experts on Call, back in a sec on News Talk 580 CFRA.
Ask questions.
Get answers.
This is Experts on Call
On News Talk 580 CFRA.
Ask questions.
Get answers.
This is Experts on Call
On News Talk 580 CFRA.
If you're just joining us, good afternoon. and welcome to a great conversation on leasing versus buying for carefree living. Now, we're looking at its benefits, certainly a hot consideration these days, and coming up, we're going to be chatting with a couple more residents from Lepine Apartments. And once again, though, pleased to introduce our co-host this hour, former TV broadcaster here in Ottawa now, among other things, special ambassador to Lepine Apartments, Leanne Cusack. Always a pleasure.
Thanks so much, Dave. Time is flying by, and we're going to have a bit of a virtual kitchen party here at Lepine Lodge in Renfrew because we needed to hear everyone clearly for radio. We are disappointed to say we don't have real fiddles or real guitars, which is a shame because one of our guests plays so well. Next time, maybe, but our guests today are so thoughtful and so delightful, and they are happy tenants who have downsized, decluttered, simplified, and used the equity they have built to live a beautiful lifestyle here at Lepine Lodge. We welcome Christina and John and Leslie and Rick, and we're going to start with Christina and John. I met you, I believe, at the first coffee and conversation just days after you had moved in here in Renfrew. And I remember our first words. I don't know if you do, John. I asked how you were enjoying it. You sighed a peaceful sigh and you said,
"It's heaven."
It's true, Christine. John got a dreamy look in his eye. He said, "I'm in heaven." And that's really great.
Well, I think it's great, although I think he really said it was like living at a resort. That's what he said. It was like living at a resort.
And that is absolutely, I guess, your reality. You're even wearing shorts and you're looking a little bit sun-kissed. But we're not talking about the relaxation exclusively. Today, our theme is leasing versus owning. And we have Doug Lai in a moment. But I know that you're a bit of a financial planner yourself, Christina.
Yes, I do admit to that I do crunch the numbers. That's my forte in life. So I crunch it.
How did the crunching of the numbers work for you in this situation?
Well, I think after we put everything down on paper, all the expenses of running the house and maintaining it and fixing it all up, we kind of looked at one another and said, we can put our money to better use. We can invest it, let it pay us to do what we want to do, take the burden off, and then just live life. And that's what we did.
You look younger every time I see you, actually. I'm getting a bit jealous. And what are the things you like to do? How have you put that money to use, John?
We've gone on trips. We're about to go on a bucket list trip for my wife, Christine. We're going on the Alaska cruise, and we're planning maybe a 2-week New Zealand cruise.
Now, our radio listeners cannot actually see the glint in your eye. Christine, is this a surprise or you knew about this?
No, I've been kind of having to persuade him to go outside of Canada, but I think I have him hooked. And then I've also dangled a 2-week trip in the Mediterranean. So I feel that we would not have been able to do that if we had stayed in our home.
Well, I have to say, you've explained how this move has worked for you and using that equity in your home. Doug, how are you feeling right now? Would you like to offer Christine a part-time job when she's not on a cruise?
That's right. It sounds like Christine and John have been doing the right things.
That's so great. Now, if Christine and John had arrived in your office, I know that you have various sort of tests and questions that you ask your clients, some of whom are actually, I understand, living in a Lepine apartment. But maybe you could explain with your financial planning credentials your take on this situation.
Well, I think Christine and John, what made me smile on my end was you said you crunched the numbers before you did anything. And I think that is key here, where you're not putting the cart before the horse and making a big life change and financial decision without actually doing an analysis. And so very akin to that, one of the first exercises I go through with clients in particular who are thinking of downsizing, it's a simplified term, but I say for our team, it's called finding your number. And that simply means we look at an analysis to say, okay, what is the actual dollar figure you need, let's say in your investment portfolio, to be financially secure for the rest of your life? If you have more than that, then you're going to be financially secure. And what happens is when you downsize, I think a lot of individuals think of the lease as a cost. It's a cost outlay that can be frustrating, or it's just this new element they didn't have before. But to Christine and John's credit, you have to look at, okay, well, once you've sold your home, are there alternatives that we can do with those proceeds? What I do as a portfolio manager is I look at building an investment portfolio that hopefully creates an income stream for a lot of my clients. And ideally, that income stream actually offsets the outflow of any lease expenses or rental expenses.
I think you're preaching to the converted here. I really, I wish that you could see. Doug isn't with us here at Renfrew's Lepine Lodge, but Christine is nodding. If she's a little far from John, so she's not actually elbowing John. But it's really fun. Thank you both so much for being with us. I'm turning to the other side of the table, and what's so great is you said the magic number, Doug, and in conversations with Rick and Leslie Farrell, Rick has said exactly that. He has said that people think they can't afford to live here, but they haven't looked at all of the other expenses. Introducing you, though, properly, Rick plays guitar, actually plays the guitar here at Lepine. Pretty groovy band, hey, Leslie?
It is indeed, yes.
We're very grateful to you because you light up every space you enter, and I can't believe that you actually made time away from golf and pickleball to be with us live on radio. But Rick, you, like Christine, you and Leslie had a plan. And did you even surprise yourself with your planning?
We had a plan, Leanne, but it was really to be put into effect in about 10 years from now. So it got advanced when we actually checked out the Carlton Place Lepine facility, and it was beautiful, and that advanced everything. And we just decided to sell our house and downsize, as you had mentioned, and move someplace that was maintenance free, comfortable, lots of amenities. We can speak on that later if you wish.
That's a fun thing to do, because I have to paint a picture for our radio listeners. If you're just joining us here on Experts on Call, I'm Leanne Cusack, and we are at Lepine Lodge in Renfrew. And Leslie and Rick are on one of our television commercials, beaming, and as are Christina and John. But Leslie, one of the lines that you say is, I feel like I'm on vacation all the time. Now, time has passed. Do you still feel that way?
I do indeed. Yes. I love it here. Downsizing was very easy for us because we didn't need all the extras to maintain a house, and we use every inch in our spacious apartment. So it's there's no wasted space.
It was important for you to be in Renfrew as well because of family. It was sort of like a middle point, I understand.
Yes, indeed. We have family in Arnprior, so it's only like 20 minutes away.
You know a lot of people who live in Renfrew, and it's so interesting, Rick, because as you said, you advanced your plan by 10 years. You sold your home. It's another show, The Art of Decluttering and Downsizing. You guys are all experts at that. But when you are maybe as an amateur financial planner talking to people, what do you tell them?
I tell them they have to think about the whole package, Leanne. The whole package includes the amenities that we have here, the fitness center, the pool, outdoor facilities, barbecues, and it's all connected. We find you don't have to go outside if you don't want to. Everything's connected underground, whereas when we were living in Arnprior in our house, if we wanted to go to a fitness room, you had to go outside. If we wanted to do swimming, join the swimming club, same thing. You had to go outside.
Thanks, Rick, and all of our dynamic guests at Renfrew's Lepine Lodge. We want to bring Dave back into the conversation. It's his show after all. What's your takeaway, Dave?
Well, sure seems to be a lot of happy people living at Lepine Apartments, that's for sure.
I get to hear all of the great stories all of the time.
You know, everyone seems to be talking about the world-class amenities, Leanne. Now, that pool at Canada's Normand and the one in Renfrew, they're both beautiful. I've seen the photos. They're great.
Dave, we're going to get you in for a swim, I promise. We'll get you into the pool. Now, to Rick's point, Dave, about everything being on site, Leslie told me earlier that when they factor in all of the expenses they save because of the amenities, the use of the pool, the yoga room, the state-of-the-art gym, pickleball courts, and then calculate what that would cost them in their membership fees times 2, those are the expenses that they factor into their rent or lease in Renfrew.
Yes, indeed, Leanne. I guess it's the quiet costs that we don't factor into the bottom line.
The residents do talk about that quite a lot, appreciating fixed expenses and where their money used to go before they could count on fixed costs. I'm thinking actually, Dave, about Al and Mary, who live in Lepine's The Christina in Smiths Falls. It's just a short walk to the Rideau River. They owned a large property outside of Almont, and Mary says they had loads of equity, but felt, to quote her, they were cash poor. This couple always worried about surprise expenses. Al said he was terrified a tree would land on their roof in a windstorm and they'd have to replace the roof. He now jokes that he doesn't worry about anything. He says he's traded maintenance for loads of cycling around Smiths Falls. And Mary says that they put a load of money into their furnace over many years. When I last spoke with them, she just received the walking shoes she ordered for their trip to Thailand. So as Doug from Scotiabank Wealth Management explained earlier, Dave, in the theme of leasing versus buying, you have to ask personal questions about the lifestyle you want, and you have to find the right number, air quotes, around that. Today's program is really food for thought for people of all ages, because where you live is a big decision. Contemplating a move is a lot of work. The leasing agents at Lepine are really fabulous people. Ask questions of them. The discussion today and ultimate theme is creating time for what you most value and what matters most to you.
Thanks again, Leanne. A reminder to visit online to learn more about Lepine's quality legacy reputation. Locations in Canada, Barhaven, Carleton Place, Smiths Falls, and Renfrew. And the website, lepineapartments.com. Coming up, more from Scotiabank's Wealth Management Financial Planner Douglas Lai. We'll meet the Community Relations Manager for Lepine Apartments, Kate Evans, and continue our conversation with our special guest, Leanne Cusack. The Lepine team, building quality and world-class amenities for years. Back in a moment on News Talk 580 CFRA.
Ask questions.
Get answers.
This is Experts on Call.
On News Talk 580 CFRA.
Ask questions.
Get answers.
This is Experts on Call.
On News Talk 580 CFRA.
This hour, we're introducing you to the leasing experience in an amazing lifestyle environment. Our co-host guest this hour, of course, Leanne Cusack. Always a pleasure, Leanne. And this time around, we're going to touch on real-life insights and welcome the Lepine Community Relations Director, Kate Evans, is with us. Anyway, Leanne, less to talk about. Let's get into this once again.
Oh, there's a lot to talk about, Dave. Thank you. Yes. And it's so interesting. So often people ask me, well, who lives in a Lepine apartment? And I say, everyone lives in a Lepine apartment. Families are welcome. People of all ages. You just heard from some tenants for whom the lock and leave, travel and go lifestyle is really, really appealing. They're so fabulous to spend time with. I didn't let them leave our makeshift studio. We still have Leslie and Rick with us and Christine and John. But Kate Evans is sort of the Jill of all trades here. She's the social convener, the event planner and coordinator. Kate engages the community in so many fun and thoughtful ways. Everyone's high-fiving Kate right now. Kate, your exact title is?
You can call me the Community Relations Manager.
Because poor Kate has been talking to so many residents today. She's sort of lost her voice, so I'll fill in the gaps. And you're the Community Relations Manager because you are all about relationships and community, ensuring the Lepine lifestyle is an incredible lifestyle for everyone. And I feel so fortunate, Kate, to work with you and to watch how you work and how you create incredible home experiences for people. Now, we should say we are here in Lepine's Renfrew build, but you work at all of the Lepine properties, Canada, Barhaven, Carleton Place, Renfrew, and Smiths Falls. And to everyone listening in Orleans, we have not forgotten about you. Just give us time. Right, Kate?
That's right. Yeah, I'm at all of the properties and even out in the communities where we're about to be, places like Orleans and our new builds in Canada and Carleton Place.
And you hear from residents who wanted more time for what matters most. Even if you have a young family, they wanted more time for experiences.
Absolutely. I mean, that's, I think, one thing that all of our residents have in common is that they want more time for their friends, their family, their travels. That's what really makes us who we are is our friendships and our life experiences. And you get more of that when you live with the Lepine Apartments.
And if you would like to learn more, I haven't really said the website very many times, but I'll say it 3 times in a row, lepineapartments.com, lepineapartments.com, lepineapartments.com. We still have Doug Lai with us. Doug is with Scotiabank Wealth Management. And Doug, you don't actually live in a Lepine apartment yet, right?
That's right. Not yet.
But you do know a lot of people who do.
You've got it. Interestingly enough, I've practiced what I've preached in terms of what we've talked about earlier, going through the financial planning process, having and meeting a number of clients and families that are thinking about downsizing and potentially transitioning to a place where they might lease for the long term because they want that lifestyle, they want the amenities and a lot of things that Lepine has to offer. And with respects to that, we've gone through the process of, okay, once we've established the financial plan, we found their quote unquote number to make sure, do you have enough to be financially secure and afford a place like Lepine and build a portfolio from there? And we found a lot of the clients that live in the Lepine residences, they absolutely love it there. I can't speak more highly of it. And I will say truly that there was a client that asked me specifically, is there openings at the Orleans Lepine residences yet? And I had to actually go back and speak with a few Lepine folks to see if that was the case or not. And unfortunately, I think they had to be a little patient.
Oh, they do have to be a little bit patient, but we do have phenomenal leasing agents, a phenomenal leasing team, because whenever you make a life change, when you're considering a downsize or a move, it is really important to get great advice because there is a lot to consider. There's a lot to declutter, right, Rick?
Yes. I had a big challenge with that, Leanne, but Leslie's awesome at it, so it went very well.
Do you feel liberated?
Of course I feel liberated.
Leslie?
I love junk. I'm a pack rat.
And how does it feel to no longer be a pack rat?
Actually, pretty good. Thanks. Yeah, I'm feeling better, but I can find things.
Now, John, you mentioned that the only mistake that you've observed is that that people like Rick could do this sooner. What would you say to that?
I agree with that. I think people have the thought that they have to wait and wait and wait to do this. And I think they really should be looking at any time. Doesn't matter when you want to do it. And I'm not sure you're really downsizing because some of the suites are 1,300 square feet. That was the size of our bungalow. We just got rid of all the excess family room stuff in the basement. We didn't need any more. And so we're in 1,300 square feet. We love it.
Okay, Doug, I actually mentioned earlier that you might want to offer Christine a job in financial planning, but Kate actually just slipped her a card. Maybe resident Christine is going to become a leasing agent. Very well said, I must say. One of the things that I have observed as someone who spends time with residents and spends time with the whole team is there's a humility, and that's very charming, but there are some things that I think should be shared. The fact that the Rick Hansen organization has declared Lepine barrier free. So accessibility is really, really at the fore. Kate, maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that Lepine does intuitively in their design. And this program that the Rick Hansen Foundation runs that audits all these buildings and real estate portfolios, when they came to see our properties, we passed, we excelled, and that is just integral to the design of Lepine Apartments, and it makes it a great place for people with who need considerations for accessibility. You maybe have small children. Maybe you go in for surgery, life happens, and you can feel assured that you have what you need in the comfort of your own home.
We are almost out of time, so I am unable to even boast properly about the Green Building Awards because sustainability has always been in the Lepine vocabulary. And we have been talking about leasing versus owning, but it's been really, really wonderful to spend some time with residents who become friends very, very quickly. And Doug, thank you for your financial advice and help and explaining it's never a one size fits all, but investigate and ask questions. Thank you to Douglas Lai of Scotiabank Wealth Management. Thank you to Kate Evans, who is Community Relations Coordinator. And thank you to Christine and John and to Rick and Leslie. I don't know what music night is here at Lepine Lodge, but I am coming back. Rick, when is it? Wednesdays? Wednesdays. All right. Thanks a lot, Doug. LepineApartments.com if you'd like to learn more. Thank you very much to all of the CFRA listeners for joining us for this edition of Experts on Call, coming to you from Renfrew.
And thank you, Leanne Cusack, for your contributions this hour. And to Doug Lai from Scotiabank's Wealth Management Team, Kate Evans, Director of Community Relations with Lepine Apartments, and a big-time thank you to Lepine resident guests Scotty, John, Christine, Leslie, and Rick. Once again, another reminder that the Lepine team has been building quality with world-class amenities in the Ottawa area for years, with locations in Canada, Barhaven, Carleton Place, Smiths Falls, and Renfrew. Be sure to visit LepineApartments.com. And this is Dave Watts. Have a great day. News is next on News Talk 580 CFRA.
The preceding program has been a paid presentation on News Talk 580 CFRA.